Thank you for joining me for innate astrology. Let's talk about this Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse on May 5th. This is known as the Ides of May, the first full moon of May, which is a celebration of the goddess Diana, meant to cleanse and renew, to allow for new cycles to begin and new growth to happen within our lives. Full moons are always very emotional. We have a heightened sensitivity. And Scorpio, of course, is a very deeply sensitive sign. It is about sensing. When ruled by Pluto in modern times, it is about getting to the truth of what we feel. Pluto wants us to get very realistic, to get down to the bottom of everything and fully understand it so that we can transform in a way that moves us into a more positive place in our lives. Eclipses tend to reveal for us. They eclipse in or out of our lives certain energies. Normally we will find that solar eclipses power up energy, lunar eclipses power down energy. And with this being Scorpio, that is very fitting because Scorpio is about letting go of something that no longer fits the life we are experiencing. So this lunar eclipse, first of all, it's going to have us very deeply feeling something in our lives that needs to go in order for us to continue our growth. With the energies we've had since the beginning of the year, we've all been experiencing a shift in authenticity, moving into that authentic self and finding the courage to present that to the world. Because as I've mentioned many times in other videos, that is how we move onto our path of destiny. So this Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse is about allowing us to really feel into what in our life is not something that can move into this new experience, this new us that we are creating in order to create the life that we are wanting. There is something in our lives that doesn't fit, and we're going to be able to move through that and release it so that it's no longer blocking our advancement onto the path that we want for ourselves. It is at 14 degrees and 58 minutes, which is at the very end of Taurus and into Gemini. Consider both signs since it's so close. So it is about our self-worth and the things that we value, that we need and want in order to feel that we are having the life experience that we want, which is also an energy we've been working with as Venus has moved through Taurus and into Gemini. And that will be reinforced as Jupiter moves into Taurus on the 16th of May. And with it being so close to Gemini, it's going to have us very much in our thoughts, which, of course, connects to the whole Scorpio feeling experience, because this is on the axis of Taurus and Scorpio. Remember that it activates both ends of the axis. And in Taurus, we have our tangible experience. And in Scorpio, we have our feeling experience. We experience our life through what we feel in Scorpio. And in Taurus, we experience our life through what we have or our tangible experiences. So this is helping us balance out what we are feeling in our tangible experience, how we feel about it, and allowing us to see what things in our tangible experience are not supporting the growth that we are wanting to experience, the changes, the transformations, the new life that we're wanting to create for ourselves. Keep in mind that Uranus is in Taurus still, which is in opposition to this full moon and lunar eclipse. And that can create very sudden changes of how we feel about circumstances in our life, about people and experiences. It could see a sudden total change in our perception of our experience. And Mercury is still in Taurus and retrograde, which is allowing us to relearn what we truly need and want in our tangible experience. And it is helping us relearn how we value things and people, as well as how we value ourselves. With Mercury retrograde, we are relearning how to communicate with ourselves about our own values, how we speak to ourselves in this new, more authentic expression of who we are. We're relearning how to communicate to ourselves about our value and our worth, and we are relearning how to communicate that to others, how to tell them what we need and want. And of course, this is about boundaries, how to set those boundaries that support this new authenticity that we are moving into in order to be able to create the life that we see for ourselves, that we are really wanting to experience. Venus in Gemini has been helping us create new connections, to get a new perception of the connections we have. That is to help us build a support network in our life of relationships that accept and support our new authentic expression of who we are. You may find I have several people that I've been working with over the years, watching their charts, their natal charts as planets transit, to see how they are affected in their lives. Just collecting data, that's kind of my thing. Virgo, fifth house. And many of them have been telling me that they're already experiencing the change in perception of either a circumstance, experience, or even people who entered their lives in the last cycles. We always look back at the last time we had the nodes on the Taurus-Scorpio axis, which would have been either 9 or 18 years ago, depending on your age, They change every 18 years, and then at 9 years approximately, they are in reverse order. So we'll be looking at those times of our lives as well as 12 years ago, because Jupiter just started a new cycle in Aries. So we are looking most likely at people, experiences, and circumstances in our life that entered either 9, 12, or 18 years ago. And we are getting a new perspective on those experiences. reevaluating how they fit into our new life that we are wanting to create. It can be other things. It doesn't have to be in those time frames, but those are the most likely themes that we will be working with in this energy. So we're looking at those time frames, and it could be jobs that we started or left. There is an energy of things returning that maybe were part of our lives in those time frames, but not sustainable, and now they could possibly come back around and be more sustainable this time. But keep in mind that everything that is happening here is about our destiny, about what is meant for us, about making sure that what we have in our lives, whether it be people or experiences or circumstances, making sure that everything we have fits the life that we want to create for ourselves, that we should be living. So things that may have been put on pause during those time frames may return to your life and be more sustainable. Things that were created during those time frames may leave your life because they are not sustainable within the new reality that you want to create for yourself. They may not support or fit with your new authenticity. Now, this will affect each of us differently depending on what houses and axis this is affecting within our natal chart. I have one client that's been long-term, whose chart I've been analyzing over the years. This is happening exactly conjunct his natal moon in Scorpio in his 4th house. So there is something about his roots, his foundation, his heritage, or his literal home, his private time, something there, or possibly even his public time, his public perception. There's something there that is changing for him, and I'm interested to see what that will be. He has also just had his 2nd Saturn return, so it is a very transformative time in his life. That's why I monitor these charts of these people over the years to see how they are affected in each, of course, house and sign, the house that it's in, the sign that rules the house. All these things have an effect. So it will be different for each of us, but it is all to build the life that we want to experience, to be able to transform from where we are into a path and a life experience that is more what we want for ourselves and that fits our destiny, that puts us on the path. Because lunar eclipses, as you look back into older text about them, are meant to help us get back on our path when we have strayed off of that destiny path. So lunar eclipses help us move back to our path when we have kind of gotten off of it and perhaps inadvertently created experiences that don't truly fit or support our authenticity or our destiny. So this is again all about getting us going in the right direction that will allow us to create the life that we not only want to be experiencing, but that we're meant to be experiencing. Now, with Scorpio ruling the natural zodiac's 8th house, whatever house this falls in your natal chart, there is going to be an underlying theme, of course, of transformation, but of more so what others bring to your life that is of value, because the 8th house in the natural zodiac represents what we receive from others, whether it be money, sexually. It is the value that is brought to our lives through a committed connection. Um, for instance, the eighth house, when we talk about sex within the eighth house, we're talking about that committed, contractual, if you will, sexual experience with a partner, because the seventh house is where we commit to that partner, as in marriage or just, you know, committal relationships. It doesn't have to be marriage, but that strong commitment. And then when we move into the eighth house, we're looking at that sexual experience we have within that monogamous, committed relationship. So, underlying themes of this are looking at how we receive value from others that we have committed to. The eighth house also represents mergers and contracts, like that's why you'll hear it spoken about with banks and money and loans, because these are committed mergers. So it could be with a person, it could be about money. Um, Also, the eighth house rules what is occult, what is hidden. That's what occult means, is what is hidden. So things that we keep private, again, like those relationships that we're committed to sexually, that tends to be a private thing. Um, we keep our banking, our mergers and things like that with banks, loans. That's all private business. Those are the things that are in the eighth house. Um, and of course, the occult sciences. Depending on how your chart's set up, you may find yourself drawn to the occult sciences, wanting to know more. Something may be revealed through the lunar eclipse that leads you towards an investigation of, because again, um, the eighth house represents digging deep, investigating, getting to the bottom of things. So this energy is helping us get to the bottom of how we feel about things that are happening in our life in respect to all eighth house themes and where this is placed within our natal chart, and getting very realistic about it and deciding, is it supporting what we want to create within our lives? Is it something that can transform with our life as we transform and transform our experience? Or is it something that needs to be released in order for us to move forward from where we are to where we want to be? I wanted to cover what several clients that I've had long term have told me they've been experiencing already as we've moved up towards this lunar eclipse. And of course, through the solar eclipse that we had in Aries, um, they all seem to be experiencing. And there have been, let's see, so far I've had 18 long-term clients mention the same experience. So I thought it was relevant to mention here. Some of you may be experiencing it as well. They have told me that they feel like over the last 12 to 13 years, that they have been, it's almost like waking up from a dream, they said, all of a sudden now. um, and that would be the time frame where Jupiter just finished that cycle. When it left Pisces and went back into Aries, it began a new cycle. So that would be about the Jupiter cycle that we've just finished. They've told me that they feel like around 12 years ago, they started something that maybe wasn't exactly, or didn't really go along with where they were in their life, but they felt powerless to stop it. It just seemed to happen and be created within their life. It maybe wasn't anything like what they were headed towards, maybe didn't seem like where they were at the time, mentally and emotionally, but that it has served a purpose, but they can feel that it's time for it to leave their life now, whatever it is, whether it's a job, a person, a circumstance of living. Um, but they feel like they have been in some kind of strange dream in regards to that particular experience, whatever it may be in their life, and that they're suddenly waking up from that and thinking, wow, what was that? How was that? How did that become part of my life when it really doesn't fit me? And that goes with the moving into our authenticity theme that we're all experiencing. A lot of people seem to have maybe veered away from authenticity between 9 and 12 years ago, because again, 9 years ago is when we had the South Node in Taurus and the North Node in Scorpio, opposite of where we've had it now for the last couple of years. And a lot of people have said that, and I've had other people mention who are not my long-term clients, who are just friends, that they have been experiencing the same type of thing, that between 9 and 12 years ago, something moved into their life that seemed a little odd and didn't really fit, and they felt like it veered them off of their path a little, but that it has served a purpose, and they can now see that it's time for it to exit their lives. And as they mentioned this to me, I realized the same had happened for me. I took a look back and realized I'm having the same experience, actually. As I've mentioned before, I'm not very good at paying attention to my own chart, but I am focused on others as opposed to my own. But I realized after I spoke with them that yes, that seems to be a theme in my life as well, where I created, manifested, whatever term you'd like, something in my life that was a bit out of the path and direction I was headed in, but it has most definitely served a purpose. However, it's time for it to transform out of my life. So you may find yourself with that type of experience as well. And that goes along very much with the energy we're experiencing, where Uranus is opposing this Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse. And where I mentioned earlier that we may have a sudden change in perspective or how we feel about something. There may be an area of your life where you have a circumstance, a person, a job, it could be any number of things that doesn't quite fit, and you've wondered how that became part of your life or why. And you may feel like you're waking up to it suddenly, where you're like, how did I not see that that really wasn't a fit for me? And feel like you're waking up from a dream in some area of your life, as my clients have mentioned, and thinking, wow, I don't know how I manifested, if you will, that, but here it is. I see the purpose it served, but it's time to move away from it. So you may find that to be part of your experience. It seems to be a common theme. And this very much works with the energy of Saturn and Pisces that is allowing us to also feel and have strong intuition about the things, the circumstances, habits in our life that we've created that don't support our authenticity, or that are holding us back from having that mind, body, and soul balance that allows us to truly experience the life that we want for ourselves. So all these energies are working together. Mars in Cancer is going to have a very relevant effect on this as well, because Cancer being another water sign, Mars being there and having us very focused on and impassioned about all Cancerian themes, which are nurturing, private time, um, our home, our roots, our foundation, what we call home, what home feels like to us, what we need in order to feel safe and at home and nurtured. All of those feelings involve others, which is the eighth house, Scorpio in the natural zodiac, the value we receive from others. So that is supporting this energy of looking at what we are receiving. Taurus is what we have, Scorpio is what we receive from others. So we are very much looking at what we have, what we are receiving, how it balances out. How does it support us or does it not support us? Does it allow for our authentic expression? Does it build our self-worth or does it tear it down? Does it bring us pleasure and joy? Does it bring us a feeling of home and safety? Or does it interfere with that? So as we move through this, there is the theme of releasing those things that do not serve, that do not fit any longer, that do not support us. But don't be afraid of that word releasing. As we release things, we're allowed to move into the life that we want to experience. And people, circumstances, jobs, tangible things even, that do support that authenticity, that new person we're becoming, and that new life we want to create, those things are allowed to move in. So don't be fearful of the idea of releasing things, or things can also transform as opposed to release. We may see where we need boundaries or the release of boundaries in order for circumstances, people, experiences, things in our life to transform in a way that is more supportive of what we are wanting to create for ourselves. I think that this will bring a very heightened intuition, a very heightened gut instinct. Our senses will be very heightened by this energy so that we can really feel into all the things in our life in a way that allows us to get clarity and decide if it is something that moves forward with us or not. Now, this energy will last approximately 6 months. It moves through until the Scorpio new moon this year, which I believe is early October, and I forgot to check the date. um, Also, this is a culmination, a fulfilling of the cycle that began last October 22nd, 2022, with the Scorpio new moon of that year. So look back to last October 22nd, especially if you keep a journal. That's why journals can be so handy. Look at things you were starting to recognize then that may not feel right for you anymore, that need to change, that may seem things that you begin to recognize weren't supportive, weren't fitting the life that you're beginning to create, the changes that were happening for you. Look at what you begin to focus on last October. Those themes are going to be coming up with this. That's going to be what's coming to fruition, to culmination with this full moon, so that the transformations can begin. Those themes from last October in your life are the things that need to transform or release in order for you to move into the new cycle, to move forward on the path that you're wanting to create for yourself. So that's another area, a time frame you can look at to understand what you're experiencing during this Scorpio full moon lunar eclipse energy. We always have the cycles that begin on the new moon and culminate at a full moon. However, a full moon is also not only the culmination, but you will find in many texts that it is the rituals that were performed with new moons were, in essence, the idea of pulling the energy of the full moon into us in order to power us up to begin and move through that new cycle we're starting with the new moon. So the full moon is not only a culmination, but it is a regeneration, if you will. And being the Scorpio new moon, full moon, sorry, that's very fitting. But getting that fresh sense of desire and direction, of knowing, of clarity, which the full moon represents as well, so that we can move forward into this new cycle, this new creation within our life that we're wanting to make happen. I think for many people, this will simply be a very big emotional release where we finally emotionally and psychologically let go of things that are holding us back or weighing us down, so that we get that renewed sense of interest and desire to go out and create what we want for ourselves, to find what we want. We have all experienced how heavy emotions weigh us down and seem to prevent us from wanting to move forward. And sometimes a big emotional release is what we need in order to have that renewed energy, that renewed interest, passion. Perhaps for many people it is time just to have a ceremony of letting go of things that emotionally stay with us and keep us a little stifled. It could be people or experiences in our past that hang around in the back of our mind and come forward once in a while, but seem to prevent us from truly expressing who we are. I have had some other clients mention that they are experiencing a release, a transformation of how their people, their parents, their grandparents, who they were, how that affected this individual's life, and how they are releasing their association to those people and realizing that who they are authentically is very different, and that they have been carrying pieces of other people around, if you will, within their energy that were their family members or people that came into their lives that were very close to them, or they feel like they have picked up pieces of those people's energy and absorb that into their own being, but it really wasn't who they were. It didn't necessarily fit who they are authentically, and it has inhibited their authenticity. And that is another thing with Scorpio, that absorbing type of energy. So you may find that is something you're getting clarity on. You are realizing, you are seeing for the first time that you have taken on energy from others in your life that wasn't yours and that doesn't fit who you really are, and that it's time to release those habits or traits or expressions that really belong to someone else, so that you can express yourself in your full authenticity. As humans, we tend to do that, especially when we care deeply for others. We tend to absorb their energy. We may take on their traits. Of course, we do that from our parents, our grandparents. We carry traits not just genetically, but in our expression of who we are. And for many of us, this is most likely a time where we get clarity on the experience of having these behaviors or traits or ideals, thought patterns. Sorry, a car went by. I'm sitting outside with the birds. Um, where these are things that came from others in our lives that are not ours. And we need to release them in order to become who we truly are, to express our authenticity outwardly so that we are on our path. We are creating our life instead of a life or an experience that is built with a bit of other people's energy in it that doesn't really fit us. And the last energy that we're dealing with in this, well, also keep in mind that the North Node of Destiny is in Taurus, opposing this. So everything again that happens is moving us onto the path, as the lunar eclipse represents that getting back on our path of destiny. These are things that are about creating and experiencing our destiny. Now that last energy is Pluto. Pluto has now stationed retrograde. It has stopped at the beginning of Aquarius. Now Aquarius typically squares Taurus and Scorpio in the natural zodiac. So even though the degree points are not really a square, but that energy is still there in the background, that Pluto, which is the ruler, the modern ruler of Scorpio, and this full moon and lunar eclipse, Pluto wants us to get real, to see everything clearly, to commit to this new path that is for us, that is our destiny. And it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn as we move through all of this energy over the next 6 months, because this energy of this full moon and lunar eclipse, we will see the biggest, strongest part of it, the transformations it will help us make, will happen in the next 90 days. And then the last 90 days, because it is about a 6-month cycle, the last 90 days is where we start to really implement those changes and transformations that help us find and create the life that is for us. Now, Pluto's going to move back into Capricorn as we go through this, so that, and it's going to move back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius until November of 2024. So what that's going to do is move from Capricorn, where we are looking at how we structure our lives, how we manage our lives, how we design the structure of our lives, how we manage ourselves, and how others manage us. What and who manages our life experience? We're going to be revisiting that and making some decisions about what we are okay with and what we are not okay with. We may find that there are people, circumstances, things in our life that are managing, if you will, us, and that we need to take back the power of managing our own experience, which in return allows us to create our own experience instead of others creating it for us. That plays in with that authenticity of being us and creating the life that's for us, as well as taking back our power, which was the Aries second new moon energy, the power to create our own lives, not giving away our power to others, which Pluto going back into Capricorn will help us revisit and make sure that we are the ones in charge. Capricorn is the boss who's in charge. So that energy is going to support this. Then it's going to move back into Aquarius, back and forth, where we look at how others play into that. Aquarius is the collective. So All of these energies are working together to allow us to see clearly, to become authentic, to create a life that is in line with our destined path, and to be in control of that, to be the one who has the power over what we experience. As always, I hope that the information helps you move through this energy in a way that creates success for you and brings you a life that you truly love. Thank you for joining me. There will be more videos soon about all of these wonderful transits.